Hey, Jota, even, man. I see you got a new dog there, man. That's groovy, man. Yeah, baby.
The dog's name is not Groovy. The dog's name is Mr. Bigglesworth, and he's an evil petting dog.
Let's get a close-up of that evil petting dog. Aww.
Oh, say hello to Coconut.
Say hello to his little friend.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour podcast, where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everywhere in between. And we're really excited this week because we are joined by someone not only who is a legend in the metal community, also a legend in my life because he was one of the first people that I met that was a rock star, that was super nice to me, gave me great advice, and who I hold very dear to my heart. And his name is Burton C. Bell.
I see you're also holding close to your heart your brand new dog, Coconut.
Yes.
This dog is brand new as of today.
Yes, as of today, we Coconut has joined the Rockman, the Rockjersky clan, as I should say, and we're very, very happy to have her. She's a rescue that we got through our friends at Animatch, and we don't know how old she is, but we just know that she is destined to rule the world. Am I right, Coconut?
Absolutely adorable. This interview is really cool. You guys go way back. We've had this flux of new episodes recently where I find out we're recording in the most oddest of times, including naked about to get into a shower. Yes. The other one was still relatively short notice, but not as strange. But today I had just finished crying my eyes out watching the new Lilo and Stitch live action film because there's this one particular beautiful scene, and fans of that, I had never seen the original, and I went with with Jason Boudreau and his family, and it was his youngest daughter's first film, and I'm really glad I got to go do that with them. But I wasn't ready for that particular scene, and so I was just done wiping my eyes, and I was taking a pee, and I look at my phone, and you're like, we're interviewing the dude from Fear Factory in half an hour, and I'm like, but I was going to be home anyway. I lived close to the cinema, but what I love about these interviews is I have no prep time, but I thrive on this. By the best interviews in the world, I ruin things when I have too much time to think about them.
I think with someone like Burton, as people will see when they hear the conversation, he's such a personable guy, and he's so kind and so nice and very smart. A well-read guy. He can talk about anything, and what I love about him is that he hasn't lost his lust for life. He hasn't lost his passion for things, and you can tell, when he tells the story about meeting some of his idols, and then about some of the projects he's working on, and yet he's able to look fondly on the past. And look, I think for people that are coming into this interview, if you're seeing that we're talking to Burton, don't think you're going to get a big shit talking session about Fear Factory and all that. It's not about that at all. It's about this guy's art. It's about where this guy is going, where he's been. Listen, metal vocalists that have, put out music in the last 25 years, if you don't think that you've been influenced by Burton C. Bell from Fear Factory, then you probably got another thing coming, man. This guy's, his fingerprints on all kinds of music that came after. And he knows it, but he's very humble about it. And I love this conversation. It's long overdue, in my opinion, because ever since we started the show, when we made the list of who we wanted to talk to, he was like right up there in the top 5. I definitely want to have Burton on eventually, and the stars didn't align, but they did now. He's heading out to Australia to do a string of dates, and also we got a very, very big reveal that nobody knows about yet in this episode. So if you're a fan of Burton, you're going to want to listen to this, because there's something coming up if you're in Australia that's going to blow your mind that has not been announced yet. So let's jump right into it, Ryan, because this is a fairly lengthy one, but it's so much fun. Without any further ado, our interview with Coconut. Burton C. Bell.
I was waiting for that.
I'm so happy you're on here with me, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Are you kidding me? I've been wanting to do this with you for like.
Would I kid you?
Well, I've been wanting to do this with you probably since I started the podcast. And even when I was doing stuff at radio, I always wanted to nail you down to talk to you. But every time I saw you, it was like backstage somewhere quickly. And I didn't want to bog you down with that. But thanks for coming on today, man. You've got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. There's some stuff finally happening. It's been a long time coming, but a lot of planning, preparation, a lot of introspection, work, making things happen. And but here we are. Things are finally rolling.
Well, the one thing I've always liked about you, and just to qualify, let people know, I've known you for quite a while now.
Yes.
I knew you originally as a fan of Fear Factory. Then I got to know you personally when I moved to LA. And I remember you were always one of those people that, as I was on my journey to get to where I was going with Slaves on Dope, once we signed to Sharon's and all that, I just always remember you being super kind and always taking the time to chat. I remember you and I having a conversation. I think it was at Jumbo's one night.
Jumbo's.
And I remember talking to you, and I remember you saying to me, like, "You're too nice for LA."
Don't worry now.
You're too Canadian for LA.
That's another way of putting it. Who was the other gentleman with me?
So this is Ryan. Ryan's my co-host. Ryan's been doing this podcast with me for the better part of 3 years, maybe a bit more. We've been friends for over a decade. And it's really cool to not only be doing this with you today, Bert, but to bring Ryan into this, because Ryan doesn't really know much of my past with Fear Factory. So I'm going to be able to tell a bit of some of these stories leading up to what you're doing now. But I just remember you always being super kind. I remember when we eventually got to a level where we were actually playing the same kind of stages as you, we got to do a bit of touring with you guys. And it was always a lot of fun for me, because I came into the situation, into the relationship, being a fan, and left being a fan, but also being a bit of a friend. So it's a unique situation to get into. And that's happened to you in the past too, I'm sure.
Absolutely. You could say that we've known each other since the last century.
Yeah, it's a long time. But
late 1900s, as the kids are saying these days.
Exactly. And I know that the one thing that I get into this conversation with quite a bit, and I think we've talked about it on this podcast with other people, is that a lot of people don't give you the credit for being one of the first guys to sing and scream. There weren't a lot of people doing it. And I know that just our band, the idea of having a clean vocal and a scream vocal in one song, there weren't, besides maybe Mike Patton, but Faith
sort of Justin Broderick.
Yep.
A little bit of Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke.
Yep.
What I felt like I was doing, I was imitating my favorite vocalists, and just imitating them. And through imitation, I accidentally came up and had my own voice, which was pretty odd. But yeah, it's interesting what it seemed to snowball after that, didn't it?
Yes. And the thing is, you went from bands realizing that they could have a bit of melody, to the next wave that came kind of after nu metal. And you guys weren't part of nu metal. You guys were you guys were your own thing. But it was funny that in nu metal, you had some guys that would scream and maybe try to sing, but then you go into emo where you literally would have two singers trying to do the job that you would do in a song.
Absolutely. The word, you're using the word screaming, but that's common, but I don't say I'm screaming at all. And I don't even say I'm a singer. I say I'm a vocalist.
Right.
And I'm not screaming. I'm vocalizing like a pastor would.
Yeah.
To enunciate and to push out what I'm trying to say. Like, listen to me. This is what. Much like one of my other favorite singers, Michael Giroff from Swans, who still has a very low, powerful, prominent voice, just very strong and just very powerful. And I feel like my voice just kind of developed that way. So I'm not. It's not like I'm screaming for no reason or.
No.
it's like orating very passionately.
I like that. That's a really good way to put it. And you know, the thing with, obviously, with the band that you sung in for so many years, they were very, very influential on a lot of people. And you guys were one of these bands that just didn't sound like anybody else. You were doing your own thing. And that's a very, very hard thing to, you know, not only to accomplish, but I'm sure it's a hard thing to look back on when you see all these people that, you know, will say things like me, that will cite you guys as a you know, as an influence. I'm sure for you, it's kind of like, I don't know, we were just doing our thing.
Yeah, I take it all. I guess I take it all with a grain of salt, and you know, if I reflect upon it, I do see that we have influenced a few bands, and you know, and people in other bands like yourself, Jason, you know, who've personally, we've talked about how, you know, our music influenced you and going to Slaves on Dope and moving forward. So it's I think I take that as an honor, and that's I think that's something that is a level of success where I am influencing someone to create their own music, and through their own path of the influence that we did, they are creating their own art, and that in itself is success for me.
Amazing. So way back in the day when I was in high school in the late 90s, early 2000s. And my friend Kel, who I should mention was a twin and had one leg, he passed me a VHS tape of I don't remember what much music program it was, but he recorded a bunch of music videos, and he was heavily into your old band. And I remember distinctly it was the cover of Cars that was on it, but also there was an interview with you, and you seemed like just such a nice dude, an upbeat dude, and you weren't dripping with anger and angst like everybody else who was interviewed on the same show periodically. Everyone else was like, "Oh my God, my music," and you're like, "Yeah, you know, we have this song, it's good." And that really had an effect on me. I remember I'm like, "Oh man,
thank you for saying that." Maybe I'm naive or something, but it's
yeah.
You know, the way I do my vocals, I feel like it's my therapy. You know, I get it out through my word. You know, I write my words down, you know, because that's a part of therapy as well, just writing it down, and then really working through it to really pronounce and to really exchange how you really want to say it. But once I'm on stage, all that angst and whatever aggression I have or whatever I'm feeling, I let it out. So to use a term that I was just talking about, scream therapy, which is a thing. It's maybe that's why I just feel that I'm very fortunate, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this music industry, and I've had you know, I had a good go. I still have a good go. I'm not stopping, but I'm very grateful. So I enjoy every second of it. Probably that's why I'm happy.
You're going to Australia. You've got this new song, Savages, that came out. And probably about a year ago, Antidroid came out. And I remember both times, especially, you know, the first one for me, Antidroid, was like, oh shit, Burton's doing something really cool. I got it. You know, the video was really, really cool. It was very, very much on, for lack of a better word, is very, very much on brand for you, knowing how much of a sci-fi guy you are, knowing how much you're into, you know, graphic novels, into writing. It just seemed like you had something to say. And I don't think you're going to ever do anything unless you have something to say. I don't think you're going to go through the motions. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I'm glad you noticed that. I told myself a long time ago when Fear Factory was starting that if I have this moment in time, I'm not going to waste my words on just gibberish or garbage or whatever. You know, whatever if you write it down, it's going to stay there, you know, and it's going to be there forever. So I have this opportunity. I'm going to use it. I'm like, okay, always want to be a writer. So here's your moment. Don't blow it. So, it's for me, the writing is a big part of it. And, being a Antidroid was the first one of my solo career to come out. And, that was produced by Alex Crescione of Stygian Sound, and he also produced the video in accordance with Vincent Cordero of Industrialist Films.
Yeah,
and very honored that they were really produced it for me. It was a true gift. I'm very honored and grateful for that. And then, a few months later was Technical Exorcism.
Yeah.
So, and those were released last year. Technical Exorcism was actually almost a year ago. It was released, and those were like the first two songs I was releasing, trying to find my way through of what I wanted to achieve, where I wanted to go musically. I was still curating a band at the time, so I didn't curate a band until after Technical Exorcism was done, and so the words for Technical Exorcism and Anti-Droid, you can put them into a context of sci-fi, of course, because that's how I write. Right. But as writers do, they write from personal observation, personal feelings, and so in a lot of senses, the first two songs were very personal, and I got that out of me. So. Right. Now here we're at Savages, and now I feel like I've gotten past what I needed to get out, and now I'm exploring the other avenues that are on my mind. And here we are. It's I can still put everything into like a context of a future, a future, dystopia that seems impending by the day.
Yeah.
But Savages is that song, and I'm just. It came out killer. My guitar player, Henrik Lind, wrote the track, and he had been sitting on it for a while, and he's asked me if I liked it. I'm like, yeah, let's make this happen.
It's killer. It's killer. And I immediately after I heard it for the first time, I shared it, and then I messaged you. I'm like, dude, this is great. I got to get you on the podcast. Let's finally do this, because when I saw live dates were coming, and I saw, I found it was really cool that you're going to Australia first, because I know you always had a good fan base there, and a lot of bands I know have had really good fan bases. There's something about Australia that when they grab you, it's kind of like the UK. When the UK grabs you, they might grab you before everybody else, but Australia has that effect too. Our friends in the Tea Party, it was the same kind of thing. Like those Tea Party there, for some reason, man, they're a band from Windsor, Ontario, but they, Jeff lives there still.
Yeah, Jeff went down there and started a relationship. I don't know what he's doing, but it's a beautiful place, and it has less. Maybe it's because there's less people in the country than, say, I think Australia has less people than the city of Los Angeles. I think that's what it is.
Right.
Wow.
But it's I'm excited to be going down there. Australia was one of the first places we toured in '93, and back in '93, a lot of bands weren't going down there at that time, which was weird. So we really did a grassroots type of tour. We did like 11 or maybe 11 shows on our first tour down there, which is kind of out there because no touring band from international touring bands really do that very often. And so we had some grassroots places, and so I think the audience really took to us really fast, really quickly, and it was just honored that I can go back. And when I had the opportunity that a promoter was like interested, I'm like, let's get on this and make it happen. And it's taken a year to get here, but we started working on it last year, actually. And
how excited are you for this? Because I'm sure it's been a minute. I mean, I'm sure there's excitement. There's probably a bit of apprehension, probably a little bit of nerves, like all of it, right?
All of the above. I'm excited and stressed at the same time, but I'm happy about it. It's giving me a great tour. My guys are excited to go down there. We've been rehearsing, and it's been going very well. We're getting tighter than ever. We've been writing new songs, so not just playing songs you've already heard, but we're going to play a couple songs that no one's heard yet. So it's going to be a killer.
What's killer there too is the fact that the more smaller the coin is, the more it's valued. So when you give someone a giant pile of money and they exchange it, and you're like, yeah, see this little coin? That's $10. And you're like, what? And as someone who loses everything, that is like the stuff of nightmares. But
yes.
Yeah, you'll probably be fine.
The $2 coins down there.
Yeah. Do you have a, not to say like, I don't have a coin collection, but I did try to like save a little bit of the currency sometimes when it's a little more fun internationally. Yeah. Do you ever kind of do that? Do you ever take any keepsakes of stuff you've collected from around the world?
All the time. Still have shrapnel from all over Europe before the EU hit. So I still got shrapnel, and we called it shrapnel because it was just like change you couldn't do anything with in your pockets. So I got from Holland, money from Holland, coins from Holland, Germany, France, Spain, Scandinavia. So I collect that kind of stuff. Plus, I collect weird. I'm not the kind of person that goes out and buys things to like a T-shirt or some of some place. I like go to a beach and pick up a shell.
Yeah.
Or like from Australia, I got a couple of rocks that I remember where I picked them up. Right. And it was like they're on my shelf. Oh yeah, I got that in Australia at the the South Beaches of Esperance, and then it's just stuff like that. It's pretty incredible. So I got little memorabilias all over my place just to remind me of, well, that's cool.
Well, the crazy thing too is that, people, another thing people might not realize is that Fear Factory existed in this time where, hair metal was done.
Yes.
You were, grunge was hitting, and you guys kind of never fit in. You always really did your own thing. And I remember just the kind of bands you would tour with, you would not necessarily, now you would think about it like, oh, it makes sense. They would tour that, but you guys were like really forging your own road. I mean, it's not like anybody had paved that road for you. You guys were out there with a fucking machete, blazing a trail, trying to find a place where you guys could be heard. So
yeah, and our agents were our agent was like putting us on every tour possible. Like our first tour through the States was a West Coast tour with Sick of It All and Biohazard.
Okay. Biohazard was on the VHS I was telling you about. Well, right before you guys. Yeah. So
that's funny.
You guys in my brain and memory are kind of synonymous with each other in this.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's funny. Huh.
That's incredible. Yeah. Biohazard. So the second tour was a full US tour with Obituary. So we went from hardcore to death metal.
Right.
And then we toured with, we went to Europe and toured with we toured with Brutal Truth in Europe. So we toured with Iron Maiden, we toured with Megadeth, we toured with Ozzy, we toured with Sepultura. So we just hit it seems like we were just all over the place. But that was just more exposure for us because they didn't know where to put us. So,
and then you got to a point where you guys were able to do your own rooms and headline your own festivals and stuff. And I mean, like when I remember when we did the Snowcore tour, it was on the Digimortal album, and I'll never forget. I think we were in New York. I'm not sure if it was in New York or it was somewhere on the East Coast. And the rep from the label, I believe it was somebody from Roadrunner, had brought you guys all your gold plaques for Obsolete.
Dude, that was during. Was that during Snowcore?
That was during Snowcore because I remember being backstage and seeing that and going, "Holy shit!" Like I remember buying that record. Now I'm seeing these guys get their gold record.
Oh, I got a picture of that. That was pretty incredible. That was on Snowcore. That's right. That was at the Roseland.
It would make sense that it would be in New York because I think I don't know if it was Montier, but anyways, but there were guys from the label that brought it for sure. It was in New York, but I just remember being so proud to see that because people say this and that about the band, and I know the band still exists now. And look, I don't like to be a hater and I don't like to talk shit ever. And that's not one thing we do on this podcast, and we're not looking to do that at all.
No, I won't do it either.
No, and I would never even tread that water with you. But that version of Fear Factory, the one that was on that tour, the one I got to see, to me was just such an incredible fucking band on stage together. There's no denying that when those four guys got on stage and played that music, it was fucking powerful.
We were a force to be reckoned with, and it was a very tumultuous time. It was a fast time. It was just so much was going on, and it was incredible. Just thinking about it makes my head dizzy. But it was cool. It was a great time, and memories I'll always cherish. Especially that was a great day. Like someone walks in and your record in gold, and like, what?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember on that tour there were the meet and greets that I guess it was whoever had organized that tour had organized meet and greets that the bands would all line up and meet some of the fans before. And I remember doing that with you guys, and it was just a fun time. And what was cool about it was that again, you felt like you were witnessing something special because, you guys had come off of Obsolete. Digimortal had there's a lot of hype around that record, and the record was great. So to be able to see you guys, maybe 30 something times on that tour, I always made a point to watch you guys.
It was a great tour. It was unfortunate of when the record came out because what happened right at that moment in the world.
Yeah. Hey, listen, the same thing happened to us.
Yeah.
Our record came out in 2000.
Yeah. And so when it came out, you're like, oh, no one wants to go to shows anymore. It was pretty sad, but it was a great tour. What was the name of that? Some online company that was doing snowcore. It was,
Artist Direct.
Artist Direct. That's what it was. That was a good time.
No, and the thing is, we had a record that came out in October of 2000. It was, kids were coming to the shows with burnt CDRs, and going, "Can you sign your record?" I'm like, "What do you mean, sign my record? That's not our record." They're like, "No, I just downloaded it off LimeWire or off of Napster," and I was like, "What?" And I
what?
And it's crazy because, the bands prior to that, like you guys had enough of a career that, you would still be able to scan some records, but the bands that were coming into that, like brand new, I mean, the industry changed. And then, of course, the year after 9/11, it's just like the whole thing in that year and a half was unbelievable what happened to the music industry because it really changed.
It did change. The internet changed everything, honestly.
And you were singing about it before. You were warning people about the machines.
People thought I was crazy. I am crazy. That's how I thought of it all. But it's like, people who write like that, like for instance, sci-fi writers such as Kurt Vonnegut, or a better example would be George Orwell, which is wrote a book called 1984, which is probably one of the most influential books in my library of books that I own and have read. That George Orwell originally wrote it titled 1948 because he was writing about a time that he saw right then.
Right.
But the publisher's like, oh, no one's going to understand this. They're not going to see that this is happening now. It's like, so they had just changed the number to 84 and like, oh, it's a sci-fi book.
Yeah, that's the best way to get a social commentary across. They hide it in sci-fi. They've been, it's the best way.
It is very true. And people, when you hide it in sci-fi, people won't feel offended, or they won't feel nervous or anticipate what's happening. It's like, oh, this is just sci-fi. This never happened. And then we watch movies like Terminator. And it's, Skynet is actually a thing now.
That's got to make you crazy when you think about that, because if anybody is tapped into that way of thinking, it's you, because you're into sci-fi and just the nature of the way you wrote and all that. You always wrote about machines taking over and this and that and all that stuff.
Commentary.
Right. So for you to see AI and all these things happening, it's got to be a trip for you.
Dude, just what I think about AI now, it's just insane. I saw something on YouTube today, just blew my mind. Some guy was having a conversation with AI, an AI entity, I'm going to call it. And it was just bizarre. I was like, well, it was like this entity was definitely conscious. I was like, it knew exactly what it was doing, and it was sentient. And I'm like, holy crap, it's going to get out there pretty soon. It's going to get even further. We're going to go deeper into that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
faster than we can even expect. Kurt, another writer, but he wrote a book called The Age of the Spiritual Machine, and he said that technology advances exponentially every year.
Right.
And so it's now that AI has been out for 4 years now, it's going to be sentient. It's probably sentient by now.
And it's crazy because I remember the first, I'm sure you'll, because you keep your finger on the pulse of this stuff. And I know Ryan will probably know what I'm talking about. I remember seeing those AI commercials for Pizza Hut that came out maybe 3 years ago. And they were really terrifying because it was when AI would give people like 7 fingers and the faces weren't right. And they were just terrifying. And I remember watching this going, this is like freaking horror show. Like, oh, it's like a really bad horror movie. But now you see that it's gotten better and it's getting smarter. And yeah, like, I mean, where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years?
It gets to the point that you don't know what's real or not anymore if you're looking online. And,
when you look at a lot of sci-fi movies, half of them are about like your 80s robot buddies, and then you have like Hal from 2001 Space Odyssey. Like, I guess a robot buddy's fine, but the idea of Skynet or Hal is this entire system, and and to be able to be controlling everything in the system, that's terrifying. And as soon as the machine deems that you're doing something wrong without any kind of human empathy, that's the terrifying part. Yeah.
And no matter what safeguards they might program, if it's a sentient being, it's going to find a way to get around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no sentient being wants to be caged.
Well, I don't want to bum anybody else out with our conversation, but
we could always start talking about the smart sex bots that they're probably developing.
Japan's already doing
that. What do you think of, are you someone that still consumes a lot? Like, are you still a moviegoer? Are you still someone who stays up to date on show? So what do you think of Black Mirror? Are you a fan?
Love it.
Isn't it great?
The new season's incredible.
I know. I just finished it. The only complaint I have with Black Mirror is that they put out, now it's getting better. They'll put out 6 or 7 of them, but I consume it so quickly that it's just like, because I can't wait, because it's such great storytelling.
Yeah. And I like how this season you're touching upon past episodes.
Yeah. The one with the Star Trek themed one, kind of.
The Star Trek people. And there's another one. It was a reference to it was a video game thing. Yeah. And it was the one where it was a season or 2 ago. What was it? It was like some name from Alice in Wonderland, but it was you could actually choose your own story as you're going along.
Right. And
now, what was that one called? It was but it was incredible. So there was a return to that, like it was like a prequel to that episode.
Right. It's crazy when you think, and I've always said this, about science fiction and about that, these kind of shows that first of all, I love something that's an anthology where you can watch it and it's one story in itself. And Ryan and I talked about the other day, like Outer Limits, like the Twilight Zone, but something about Black Mirror, the way they do it. It's so relevant to anything today because, and all the tech that they have in the shows looks a little bit ahead of the time you might be in right now, but it's all very relatable.
It's all technology that is very plausible.
Yes.
That is on the cusp of being invented as we speak. So that's one of the reasons why I love Black Mirror. And the stories are just like, whoa, there's deep and sometimes horrific and like, what, this is brutal. The last one I just saw, I haven't watched all of them yet, but the last one I just saw where the guy was trying to remember, was invited to go to a funeral and trying
the one with Paul Giamatti. Yeah. When they're able to go into the photos. It's amazing.
That was incredible. That was really incredible. That was touching, actually. It's probably one of the better ones. One of the best ones. It was really good. There's another show. It's on Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that. Ryan, you've seen that, right?
I've seen some of it. It's fantastic. Sometimes when you give yourself these little micro stories, I find that in a North American sense, because you guys are bringing up Black Mirror, British people kind of just say, we're making 4, that's it. It's going to be 2 seasons, Christmas special. We are done. We're not going to overdo this. In North America, we're like, we want 30 episodes a season and we don't care if they suck.
Love, Death, and Robots is great. It's done by the people who do a heavy metal magazine.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a bunch of like animated shorts, but I mean, animated or CGI, but it's all a different type of artwork. And it's just goes from comedy to just like graphic horror. And they're all like from 6 minutes to 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic. You can watch a whole season in like 2 hours or less.
And artistically speaking, it's good that they have the option to only make it 6 minutes. Because let's say they're like, nope, it has to be 30. And you're like, oh, but we can make a really good 6 minute thing. But if it's 30, it's going to be really bloated and repetitive.
Some amazing artwork in some of these episodes. Like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. Have you ever seen this other show? It's on Amazon Prime. oh my God, I can't remember what it's called. It's the director of the first Deadpool movie, and Mega Man is in it. It's these little micro scenes from video games, and it's animated and acted. It's really good. I think it's
No.
Secret Level, and
Oh my
there's a
God.
Mega Man one, but the Mega Man one is only like 3 minutes long, but it's the best 3 minutes you'll ever see because I love Mega Man so much. It's yeah. So Secret Level on Amazon Prime, super cool. And like Love, Death, and Robots, very short stories, nothing to do with each other. Just here it is. Could be 10 minutes long, could be 2 minutes long. Artistically, they did whatever they thought was best for it.
Thanks for the tip. I'm gonna check that one out for sure. I was
Cool.
watching. I just finished watching Godzilla 2014 before this interview.
Oh, nice.
I was like, I feel like watching Godzilla today.
When you think of, like yes, of course you're a vocalist but you're also a writer, and you've written short stories before, you've written all kinds of stuff. You did this collab with Z Comics for the Pantera graphic novel.
Hell yeah, man.
Tell me a bit about that and how that came about. Because I know, obviously, one of the bands you probably toured with a lot was Pantera.
Toured them once on, it was the Ozfest 97.
Yeah.
So it was on Ozfest 97 was Pantera, Manson, Typo Negative, Fear Factory, a lot of other bands, Ozzy, of course.
Yeah.
But that came about. I befriended this editor named Rance Hosley, who is a big part of Z2 magazine or comics, and he just contacted me one day asking if I'd be interested. I'm like, sure. I was like, he told me what it was all about, that they were going to get 10 artists and 10 writers to collaborate on one story, and I was given Walk, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that song. The record's incredible. And the record's a great record, but Walk, it's like I got to do that one. So I got to work with Sean Pearson with that one, and that was pretty cool. I got to talk with him. And there was only one caveat that we couldn't use the lyrics. We could only use one lyric line in the story.
And what was the one you chose?
God, what was it? It's not even a lyric. It's like something he says, like, "You don't fucking know me."
Right.
In the song, "You don't fucking know me." And I was like, okay, I'll use that one. And that story was pretty much in my wheelhouse about a person who's very Max Rockatansky meets RoboCop, Terminator kind of thing, where he's this android's walking through the desert wasteland of a dystopia and just kind of just learning who he is. And so it was a very sci-fi thing. And so that was pretty much in my wheelhouse. And I enjoyed writing that one very much. And then I got asked to do another one for the Typo Negative.
Right.
Graphic novel to celebrate 30 years of Bloody Kisses. And I was given the song Blood and Fire, which I fucking love. Excuse my language.
No, it's fine. You can swear here. We're our own thing.
We actually encourage it.
So I was given Blood and Fire, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't want to repeat myself by going another sci-fi thing. So I went on a deep dive and trying to think of what I would do. And it just like came to me one night of like, I'm gonna do like a supernatural cold case files. So it's like I started writing it like a cold case episode, that TV show Cold Case Files. Started writing it like that, but the two characters, like the main character was an incubus looking for a succubus that's been on a mass murder murder rampage through early like mid 90s Ohio. So it was pretty cool. And then with the strip, the succubus is a stripper, and he finds her in a strip joint, and it's pretty cool.
I love where your mind goes. Is this the kind of thing that you could see yourself doing more of? And because I'm obviously, one thing leads to the next. Would you consider like writing full time with not writing full time, but would you work full time with an artist? Let's say they said, "Hey, I've got a graphic novel I'm doing, and there's potential for it to be an ongoing thing." Would you commit to something like that if you found the right artist partner?
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I love writing. It's a great form of expression, and it's something I've loved doing most of my life. So absolutely, I love telling stories. So yeah, 100%, I'll do that. And matter of fact, speaking of stories, I haven't announced this yet, but I'm going to be announcing it this week. That while I'm in Australia, so first 4 shows are the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th consecutive. It's going to be busy. It's going to be hectic.
Yeah,
it's going to be kind of brutal, but we're ready for it. I'm staying an extra week. Me and my band are staying an extra week. They want to hang out in Australia for a little bit and party.
of course.
But I'm like, okay, we can do that. My wife happens to be in Australia right now working on a film, so she happens to be there right now. So I'm staying an extra week to be with her. But what I decided to do is that I'm doing 2 spoken word events. One in Melbourne and one in Sydney. And I'll be reading and discussing and talking about the obsolete record.
That's amazing.
And I've titled it Obsolete by Word of Mouth.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we got a scoop. That's great.
So you got a knack for titles, man. Seriously.
Something about titles. They just come. I don't know what it is, but titles and band names. You should see my list of band names. It just goes on forever.
You have good ones, yeah.
I got bad ones and good ones. Some are hilarious. Some are very esoteric or provocative. But I got some very funny ones. But yeah, I just keep coming up with them.
So if you had to start a band tomorrow, and me and Ryan, so like, let's say, okay, you decided you were going to play bass, because I'm sure you could play something, right? Can you play any instruments? I don't even know.
I can fuck around with the guitar.
All right, so you're playing guitar, I'm singing, and Ryan's playing bass, and we got a drum machine. What's the name of our band?
Baby Pigeon. You know why?
Why?
Because you never see them. Have you ever seen a baby pigeon?
Never.
No.
So if we ever play it, it's an event.
I want to ask you
another one just came to mind. Naked Mom.
Yeah, that's something you never want to see. And if you have seen it, it's a horror show.
Naked Mom.
But no, but see, if it was like Naked Friend's mom, then it's okay.
It depends on it depends on the perspective of who's saying it.
Stop it, Ryan. Ryan has a thing for my mother. It's disgusting.
His mom is very attractive.
Have you seen Jason's mom naked?
Yeah,
no. I met Jason's mom when I was delivering Christmas presents dressed as Batman, and I don't know. She's very nice, I suppose.
Yeah. When my daughter was about 7 years old, or I think she was about 6 or 7 years old, she was staying with me and she was staying with her mom. She was split between my wife and I's house and her mom's house. And she was very concerned that Santa would not know where Daddy lived. So I was like, well, I don't know. But, so I spoke to Ryan, and Ryan's like, well, I could come, because Ryan used to dress up as the Adam West Batman, and he'd a very convincing one too. So Ryan's like, why don't I just show up as Batman?
The Adam West Batman.
The Adam West Batman. And
very specifically the Adam West Batman.
I'll send you pictures after.
That's even better.
So Ryan shows up to our condo in a Adam West Batman, and my daughter was like, and my mom was there, and he takes a picture of my mom, and after he's like, yeah, your mom's really hot. And I'm like, you're a fucking pig. But
your impression of me is terrible.
But the best thing is that we leave, because Ryan's like, he just pulls me aside. He's like, do you mind giving me a lift to the subway? Because I don't want to walk in your neighborhood dressed like this. So he comes, we go downstairs in my car, and my daughter Priya comes with me, and she's like, we're going to give Batman a ride. So she's in the back seat in her chair. I think she was still in a chair, and Ryan's in the front seat dressed as Batman. I drop him off, and he runs into the subway station and stays in character. You can see him run down and like wings his cape around and runs down like Batman. And I'll never forget that. You have a real friend when they'll dress up like Batman and to deliver Christmas gifts.
Good for you, man. That's rad.
Well, I assure you, Jason, if I knew your mother would be there, I would have come regardless.
All right. Okay. Let me ask you this. I don't want to keep you too
About
long.
Jason's mother.
Yeah, enough of this. It's getting really uncomfortable. So Burton, when I know that you've met a ton of people, obviously, because you know, if we were to go through a who's who of who you've played with and who you've shared stages with, it's probably crazy. But do you remember the person, like the person that you met where you were like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm meeting this person?
Yes.
Who?
Nick Cave.
So I just saw, I want to get to your story right away, but I want to just chime in saying I just saw Nick Cave for the first time about 2 months ago on this last tour.
The first time.
I had never seen him before.
Wow.
A friend of mine was like, you got to come see Nick Cave. It's going to blow you away. I had met him very briefly because he did this thing in Montreal where he recreated his study. And it was like an art installation. It happened right before his last. Yeah. And so I got to go to that, and I met him very briefly with a bunch of journalists, and it was very, very like a sterile environment, but I'd never seen him play. And I got to see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Probably one of the best shows I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, I'm glad you got a chance to see them. I've seen them at least 10 times. The first time I saw them was the Good Son album.
Okay. Yeah.
90, 91.
Right.
That was the first time I saw them at the Palace, and it was like there was barely anyone there. I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible. But so I met him. So Fear Factory's on tour. It's like, I want to say it's like obsolete era.
Okay.
And we were in Norway, and we're playing a festival, a huge festival. Like, you know, like I knew Nick Cave was going to be there, but we weren't playing the same day. And Ministry was there. So it's like, that's a big, big deal. So we get to the festival area. We were taken to a hotel because our show isn't until later. So I'm hanging out in my hotel room trying to get some rest. And I get a call on the phone, and it's Christian. He's like, Bert, come downstairs right now. Nick Cave's here. I'm like, bullshit. Like, come downstairs right now. I was like, fuck you. I'm like, no, come down. So I got dressed and went down. Christian met me at the elevator. I'm like, where is he at? He's over there in the restaurant. As I'm walking towards that direction, I see Blake Sabargeld at the receptionist desk. I'm like, oh my God, it's the Bad Seeds. They're fucking here. And I was like, so that it seems like everyone and a lot of the bands were like hanging out in the lobby and the restaurant because there was nowhere else to go.
Right.
And I see Nick Cave holding court in the restaurant area, sitting at the end of this table, and it's like a long table. There's like 4 people on each side, just sitting at the end of it holding court. And I'm like, oh my God. I had my journal with me. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like kind of hovering like on the perimeter, maybe like not near him, but I'm like, you know, I could still see him. I can't hear him. And it's crowded, so he wasn't paying attention to me. I'm trying not to look. But I see Mick Harvey, who's also was in the Bad Seeds.
Right.
And for some reason, it was easy for me to walk up to Mick Harvey. It was like, because I was like, oh, and I'm that kind of person. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to walk up to you and say hello. And I'm like,
right.
And Mick Harvey had just released an album that I had gotten, and he was covering all Serge Gainsborough's songs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Canadian, right? No, French.
French, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was complimenting on the record how awesome it was. And he was talking to this woman, very gorgeous woman with long black hair. And I'm like, dude, I would love to meet Nick Cave. I'm a huge fan. I was just like, it'd be great if I could just meet him. I was kind of fawning over Nick Cave. I'm fawning about Nick Cave. I'm speaking to Mick Harvey. And the woman goes, hold on a sec. She walks over to Nick around the table, whispers in his ear, and then she comes and gets me and then walks me to Nick, pulls a chair out and sits me right next to him at the end of the table. I'm like, wow. Oh man. I kept my cool. I don't know, like I just want to say, reached out my hand and just want to say thank you for your music. Huge honor, and just thank you. And you've been a huge inspiration to me. And he goes, oh, what do you do? And we just chatted for like a minute maybe, because I didn't know what else to say. Really, I wasn't part of this group he was in. I was like, dude, can I just ask you to sign my journal? And I pulled open to a drawing I had done, and he signed the drawing. And I still have that framed. And that woman ended up being Susie Cave.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Before they were married.
Wow.
So I met Susie Cave with Nick Harvey, and I got to sit down next to Nick Cave, and like, amazing.
It's something special when you're able to meet somebody like that means a lot to you. You can meet famous people. I remember meeting Ozzy. I remember meeting Tommy Lee. I remember meeting you guys. I remember meeting all these people. And subsequently, when I got into radio, I met all these people too. Bono, like Peter Gabriel. Bono? I met Bono, interviewed Peter Gabriel.
That's one person I would love to meet.
Very nice and very kind. But man, I got really nervous when I met Peter Hook.
Wow.
Like really fucking nervous. And I got really nervous when I met Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, because Simple Minds were my band when I was 15, Really? So when it's somebody that you grew up on, that you just absolutely like, they were such an important part of my to this day, it's like, and like, man, Simple Minds are, they're fairly popular, but to me, to the 15-year-old me,
fairly popular, they were huge.
But for our age, it's like, it's something. So when you meet somebody that means a lot to you,
I've never met Bono, but I got a good Bono story. I've seen him a few times, but I got a good Bono story.
Love it.
And it exemplifies what a kind person he is.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
And so it was like 2001. Digimortal was coming out, and it wasn't out yet. And so I was set to do some press down at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, because it was the Grammys were about to happen. So all the press was there. So I was sent down to do press at this Staples Center because everyone was there. So I walked around, did my press that I had to do. And then my press person left because we're all done. I'm like, okay. Just walking around looking at stuff, and I hear a familiar sound coming from the arena area. I'm like, that sounds familiar. So I was like, go check it out. And walk in. I just walked into the arena, and I'm coming in like I guess it would be stage left, and first mezzanine. So I'm looking down. And I see the Edge and Larry Mullen on stage, and they're fucking sound checking.
Wow!
I'm like, oh my god! And I see, so it's Adam and Larry Mullen Jr. and Adam Clayton. They're all there. No Bono. I'm like, fuck. And they start, they're jamming, and then they start playing a song because it was like A Beautiful Day just came out,
right?
And so I'm like, fuck, they're sound checking. I'm gonna go fucking sit down. So I go. Walk down to the floor, and I sit in a chair like in front of like 10 rows back, or a few rows back from the stage. Happens to be what's his name? Very, very old crooner. I can't remember his name, but I was sitting in his chair. It had his name on it, and I watched U2. They're going to Beautiful Day, and fucking Bono walks out. I'm like, oh my god! I was a huge U2 fan. And I thought this song was killer. And just seeing, and it had been years since I'd seen them, so just seeing them for free at this, and it's just me. And it's like a handful of people in the arena just watching this happen. And so I'm sitting there, a group of people start like coalescing around the front of the stage. I would say like maybe 10, 12 people. They just like gathering in front of the stage, and they're like holding out papers and stuff. And as Bono's doing sound check, he walks down the steps and starts signing everyone's papers, like autographing everyone's papers. And without what I'm not even thinking about, I'm like, that is the example I would like to lead. And so, the guy is like one of the biggest rock stars in the world. Goes down, signs people's autographs. Amazing. And after they were finished, I didn't even go up myself because what I was witnessing was just so fulfilling already. So I just like, after they were done, I was like, I left. I was like,
Sometimes it's enough. Like, I'm sure there's the instinct where you're like, I want to get something signed, and sometimes these moments happen and you're just like, I've taken that in. I've witnessed something cool.
Absolutely. What I witnessed was going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
You're so right, because you meet people, you know, sometimes you ask for the picture, you overextend, and it ruins the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I was talking to the dude who plays Art the Clown at a Comic-Con in Niagara Falls forever. And then by the end of the night, I said, by the way, do you do podcast interviews? And it kind of like sullied the conversation slightly. Not bad, but I could just tell. I'm like, I kind of wish I didn't ask that at that exact moment. We had a really good conversation about Batman. I should have left it at that.
I was with Ryan.
And then Homer Simpson backed into the ferns and just let it go.
I was with Ryan that whole night until about 1 a.m. where I was just tired. And it was at the hotel we were staying at. And the guy, you know, Damien Leone, who created Terrifier, and David, the guy who played Art the Clown, like you were up there. And then Ryan comes back like 4:30 in the morning, like just hammered, wakes me up, and I'm like, did you just fucking leave now? So it's crazy.
I was the type of hammered that didn't want him to think I was hammered, so I was like, "Hello, Jason."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Dude, I've been sober a long time."
But what I didn't tell Jason was I almost went to the wrong room because it was a giant hotel, and I was about 20 floors off, and and my card's not working. And I'm about to knock on the door, and then Batman started talking to me in my own head, and I said, "Ryan, how about we think about what our room number is again?" Well, it seems, old chum, that I'm about 20 floors off. This could have been embarrassing.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I fanboyed out on Billy Idol one day.
Oh, that's
really? I've never gone to meet Billy Idol. He's my hair idol. I went in for him for Halloween once, got drunk on the attention I got, and just kept doing it. It's been 20 years.
Please don't. When I was in high school, I was a huge Billy Idol fan because Rebel Yell was like everything back then.
Yeah.
So my wife and I and my daughter, we were in California and LA, and we went to go see the Misfits. They were playing a stadium, and it was the original Misfits. And a friend of mine got me in, and we had after show passes, and so we went back to after the show. It was a great show. After the show, we went to the after party where everyone was, and you know, we're sitting at a table, me and my wife and my daughter and some friends of ours. And, you know, Danzig, I see Glenn, he's talking to some people. I met Glenn before a couple of times, cool guy. But as I'm sitting at this table, looking at the door, fucking Billy Idol walks in. I'm like, I like literally like jumped.
Yeah.
Felt like I was 16 all over again. And I literally jumped out of my seat. I go, Billy Idol. My wife's like, no. And Billy Idol's like already talking to Glenn Danzig.
Yeah.
And I just like bum rush the show. And I'm like,
oh, dude.
Billy Idol, I'm a huge fan. If you're huge, I just like fanboyed out like nuts. I got a selfie. And as I was getting a selfie, my daughter photobombed it.
It's sometimes you got to do it, right?
I thought I would need AI to make a photo of Danzig and Billy Idol having a photo. That's pretty cool, dude.
I don't even know if Glenn's in it. I just wanted Billy Idol.
Get out of here, Glenn.
No shame.
White wedding time.
But you know, when you have those moments, sometimes you just got to go. Like I'll tell you this one, and then I want to get back to. I want to ask you something else because I just thought of something. But I went to LA for a junket once. When I was working in radio, they used to fly me to go do press junkets all the time, and I was staying at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
And so that's where they put up all the journalists. So I remember I got my rental car from LAX and I drove to the Four Seasons, and I get there and I go to the parking and I parked my car myself. And they're like, you don't do that. Like, you just give it to the valet and they'll park it. So I get down there and no one's parking their cars. You know, typical Canadian, like, I'll park my own car. Okay. So I park my car and I look around, I just see everybody's in little bow ties and vests. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're valets. Like, I know what that's like. I valeted in LA. So I take the elevator up, go to the Four Seasons, to the lobby. And I'm sure you've been to the lobby of the Four Seasons before. You know what it looks like. And if you haven't, like, it's very claustrophobic. It's very small. I get out of the elevator. the doors open, and I'm coming from the basement. That not a lot of people come up from the basement unless they're valets. And I come up, door opens, and right in front of me is Paul McCartney.
Bullshit.
And I'm just like, fuck. And I have my little suitcase, like my little roller bag, because I'm only there for 3 days. Paul McCartney's right in front of me, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I just make eye contact with him, and he just kind of looks at me, and I look at him, and then I go to the front desk. And he wasn't going into the elevator because the elevator had stopped there, and he was waiting for the one to go up. So he was still around a bunch of people, and I get to the front desk, and I'm like, I'm looking back. So I call my mom. I go, Mom. She goes, what? I go, Paul McCartney's next to me. What do I do? My mom's like, nothing. She goes, just enjoy the moment. And I took her advice and I did that. And because of that, I didn't do anything stupid. I didn't get anyone push me away. I didn't want to say anyone. No one told me like, leave Mr. McCartney alone. I just had that nice moment and that memory that I'll always have.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, but I've been on the other side of it where it's like, fuck it. I'm getting my photo.
Yeah. Well, there is that feeling, but yeah, it's just the exchange. You guys met eyes.
Yeah. I shared kind of like the same space. And then I remember asking at the front desk, I said, why is Paul McCartney here? They're like, well, he works out on the gym on the roof. He comes to because there's an open air gym at the Four Seasons, and he likes to work out there. So he goes there all the time to work out, or he did at one point. Anyways, so talking about all this, meeting famous people, meeting our childhood heroes, bringing it back to you, you said that moment with Bono made you realize that was a goal for you. How are you when that happens? Because I'm sure, there's kids that come up to you that like just fan out. And I imagine you treat that with a lot of responsibility, right?
I do. And I'm glad you use that word responsibility because it is a responsibility. A responsibility to someone's first impression of you. I'll try to, if they come up to me, I'll give them a moment. I'll talk to them. If they want me to sign something, it's no problem. Taking a picture and smiling slightly, probably the easiest thing anyone could do. So yeah, that's easy. That's not a problem. Signing something, as long, if they got something to sign with, I'll do it, whatever they want. But, I'm also honest, and I'll also be assertive in the sense of like, I can't do it right now, but I will be right back. And I promise I will sign this for you.
Right.
And whatever, because I might be on the way to do something or it's just not the right time. But it's like, not right now, but I will do that. And I go take care of what I got to do. And when I come back and they're still there, then I do it. So it's like, I treat everyone with respect.
Yeah, 100%.
And even if you can't do something, just like, look, can't do it right now, but I will do it when I come back. And then it's like, as long as you tell them something like that, they're like, oh. It's like, you're not being a dick. You're just like, hey, I got something to do. So it's important. These are the people who support you. These are the people who, champion you, your music, your career. So, there's nothing, it's so easy to be kind to these people, to your fans. Why not? Why shouldn't you be? Being a dick doesn't get you anywhere. And that's in general, just not me. Yes, I've had some bad moments. Not everything has always been roses. I've had a few bad moments, but I think I've made up for it. But it's what you do. You gotta. I think being kind to your fan base is important.
Of course. I can't imagine. I think I've probably signed maybe like 50 autographs in my entire life, and I've been in the music. I've been performing for 25 years. So, but I guess people like photos more, if anything. I like taking photos with people a little bit more than the autograph part because I like to prove I actually met them when I tell people I met them. Because I knew an individual once who kind of like claimed he met this rock star and did a very long, elaborate story about it. And it turned out not to be true at all. So then when I told a story, because I personally had met Slipknot when I was like 16 years old. And I remember telling people the story and they're like, oh, is this made up like that other guys? And after that, I was like, oh, man. So eventually when I got into YouTube, I'm like, I'm going to start interviewing people on camera to prove I met them.
I met them before, for sure.
So had that person never lied, I don't think I would have had the life I've had, actually. It actually got me into internet journalism and stuff. So
that's good.
Yeah. So funny how things work out.
It's funny how things work out. Exactly. One moment can snowball into a whole different scenario for you. It can create a whole different persona. It can create a whole different career path, or
listen,
whatever you like.
You know, if I hadn't have met you guys and Static X at the Metropolis, I think it was in 1998, and talking to Wayne Static, and I talked to Wayne, and Wayne, I was like, we want to move to Los Angeles, and Wayne's like, here's the number for the booker of the Coconut Teaser, and I remember we asked, I don't think I had met you, but I met Dino, and Dino was like, you got to go to LA. You got to go to the Whiskey. You got to play there. You got to play these places. You got to go there. And it was that plus, a couple of other things that led us to that. And if we had never have taken that chance, we would never have been able to do what we did. And everything leads to something else. And I think one of the reasons why you got to keep working and you got to keep doing stuff is because if you're complacent, then you never know where you can go. And the great thing about life is that life has so many incredible adventures in front of you if you're just willing to take the chance and, take the next step. And when I hear you, after spending an hour talking to you, when I hear you going out on a limb and doing spoken word shows, I think that could be something that could be open up something else for you. And that's exciting.
It is exciting. I did it once before a year ago. A friend of mine invited me to he's a writer, and he writes his own books, and just invited me to be a speaker at one of them. I'm like, well, I don't know what to talk about. And he goes, well, you'll think about it. And then after a while, I thought about it, and it was I did the obsolete thing, and it was a huge success.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it was cool. And so that's what I'm going to do again. But, it's, life is not a straightforward path.
No.
It's as long as you're moving forward, you can move forward in that direction or this direction. It doesn't matter. It's just having an open mind and being accessible to like any creative spark can change your life. And
yes. And just to finish, I'm fortunate that I got to spend a bit of time with you on that creative path in 1999.
That was a good time, wasn't it?
And 25 years later to still, have you on my path in one way is really, really, it's a blessing. And I'm really, really glad that you took the time to chat with us today. And I'm so fucking happy that you're being a vocalist again and that you're out there doing stuff, because I think fans are going to be really excited.
It's been, the past 5 years it's been quite a journey for me when I left Fear Factory. And it's a lot of introspection and a lot of reflection, a lot of planning and figuring out exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to proceed, really. And it was, some people think it's, you can think about this. For some people, they can probably think about it in like 5 minutes or a month or two. But me, it took a lot. It really took a while. And for me, not just to think about it, but to also heal in a lot of sense. Because for closure to happen, I had to be able to move forward. So I had to have closure first. And it took some time to have some closure.
Well, if Savage is an indication of where you're going, I think we're in good hands. And the world needs you to be creating, man, because you create great shit. And who else is going to warn us about all the fucking machines that are coming to kill us?
Well, I got our next song. I got a title. It's titled Cold Lazarus.
Okay, nice.
And then another new one's called Molotov H-Bomb.
Oh, I love it.
Before we wrap, I'll even edit it into the R thing because it just followed. Jason, that was such a beautiful story you said about if I didn't go to the Metropolis and I didn't meet these people and this people, my life would not have done this. I got to ask you, what is your night like that? Like I have a night. I was 13 years old. I didn't know what I was going to be, who I was going to be, or whatever. And then on Halloween 1997, I met a friend, and by the end of the night, my dad had brought a video camera home, and I started a band. Wow. By Halloween 1997, this conversation, he showed me a bunch of music videos. He was more dialed in. He's like, hey, look, Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Prodigy, we should play music. And so by the end's day, the rest of my life actually all steers from this moment. Do you have like one of those days where you're just like, wow, if I didn't wave hi to this person or go here or walk through that door, it would be completely the other side of sliding doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
I kind of do. It's a twofold story. It's two instances. First instance is moving to Los Angeles in 1989. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I dropped out of art school. And a guy I was working with was like, moving to California, want to come with me? I'm like, okay. I was like, I was looking for a change. I was like, I was going to move to New York City. And I was thinking about moving to New York City. He goes, no, don't move to New York City. Come to LA with me. I'm like, I've never been to LA. So it's even better. So I was like, okay, fuck it. So moving to LA 1989 was a big part of it. But I had been in LA probably, got there in July, August, September, October. So in October of the same year I moved there, October of 89, I was, what was it? No, January of 90, that I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and I was walking in Hollywood Boulevard has all sorts of stores. You remember all the rock shops and all that stuff?
Yeah, of course.
And a friend of mine actually worked in one of these rock shops. We had befriended each other because I would walk in frequently, and we, looking for gear or whatever, and cool rock tees or whatever, and we talked to each other because he was also from DC and he liked Fugazi, so we had a common interest, so we would talk a lot. And one day I was standing there talking to him. This guy named Alex walks in, who used to work there as well, Alex Sargent, and I'm standing there talking, and he's talking to me. He's like, "Hey man," hands me a flyer. "You want to try out for my band?" I'm like, "You got a band?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm making a band." I'm like, "Okay." So he handed me a flyer, and I went. I guess I was the only person that showed up for the audition because I was in the band, and it was me, Alex Sargent, Dave Gibney on guitar. Alex was a drummer, and I was going to be the vocalist because that's what I wanted to do. And a guy named Scott Russo was a bass player. And we called ourselves Hate Face.
That's a great name.
And yeah, it was an awesome name. And we played a few shows in Hollywood. We played on KXLU on a show called Pyrotechnics. No, on a show called Psychotechnics on KXLU with Jason Bentley. He used to work. He's a big DJ now, but Jason Bentley recorded us playing live in the studio. So I actually have a recording of a Hate Face session.
That's
live
amazing.
on the radio that I should release at some point. But yeah, and so if I hadn't met Alex, I would have never met Dave, because Dave and Alex lived in the same building or same house, and I was looking for a place to live. And I go, "Oh, a bedroom just opened." It was this huge house, and a bedroom opened up. "Come live with us." I'm like, so I moved in, and living upstairs was Dino Cazares.
There you go. And the rest is history.
So if Alex never invited me to audition for his band, I would never be where I am now.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, me too. And taking risks, taking chances, you have to do that.
Yeah,
don't let fear overcome you, because if you're holding back because you fear you fear of being made fun of, or a fear of failing, you're never going to get anywhere.
Fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer. It's a fucking truth, man. It's a life killer. It will hold you. Fear holds you back, and if you have fear of failing, you're never going to have that feeling of actually accomplishing something, because how do we learn? Through failure.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
So I learned to take chances, take risks. Don't say no. Because saying yes provides so many opportunities that you would never expect.
Yeah. No, 100%. Thanks again for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Jason. Ryan, pleasure meeting you, man. And
pleasure, man.
I look forward to getting back to Montreal again. I love that city. It's a beautiful town.
Fucking right, it is.
I was there a few years ago for probably 2 or 3 months. My wife was working on a film there.
I remember we were supposed to hook up, and
she was working on the X-Men Phoenix or something.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, she was working on that. So I was there, and man, I had a wonderful time there. And I went to the art museum, and just pretty much just kind of walked around, just kind of chilled out a lot.
I love how Coconut does not move. I'm convinced Coconut is a stuffed animal. You're kind of mildly moving around to convince me she's alive.
No, she's alive. Coconut, are you alive? Hello, Coconut.
I have a feeling our viewership will go up exponentially when they see this adorableness on screen.
Yes.
For all you who listen to the podcast, just audio wise, I understand. I actually consume my podcast in an audio sense, but it's nice that we offer the YouTube wise too. And then there's people who podcast apps are, they fear them and they prefer to just do YouTube. I listen to music on YouTube the majority of the time. So it's kind of good to not leave a window closed when it comes to consuming media and having it readily available to everybody. And I think that kind of thinking outside the box is exactly what Burton kind of stands for, because to be that guy that you're telling me that influenced so many people that said you could be, you're a vocalizer or you sing and scream. I'm sure there's a bunch of people back in the day saying, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah,
If you do this, you do this. Or if you do this, you do this. Nowadays, it's kind of it's a form of strength to show your versatility. But I got to say, sometimes people don't want versatility. They want to put you in a box and they want to be like, I like the box. Stay in the box.
Yeah, well, you can't put that guy in a box. That's for sure. He does too much.
You can't put Baby in a corner or Burton in a corner.
Well, I'm really glad we got a chance to talk with Burton. It was a lot of fun. I'm somebody who really, really strongly believes in him as an artist, and I'm glad that he's creating and he's doing so many things. So make sure you keep it locked on wherever he is posting. And if you want to go more information on what's going on in Burton's world, burtoncbell.com is where you can find out all the latest on him. And again, you heard it first. He's doing spoken word dates on the record Obsolete, which I think if you're a Fear Factory fan and you're in Australia, you definitely got to go to that. And let's hope it comes into North America as well. A big thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. A big thanks to our producer, Julia Kajerski, our guest, Burton C. Bell, and of course, the latest addition to the Rockman Power Hour, Coconut. We'll get her story eventually too. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for listening. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. We appreciate all the feedback. We appreciate all the support. And until next time, we'll see you on the Rockman Power Hour. Right, Coconut? Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.